Hello, hello. I am live here on the live stream for Mi Gente on air on social media. And I just want to give it a moment to welcome in some of our guests here on Mi Gente on air. We're at the studio tonight on this cold, frigid December day. We're back in the month of December. So let's give it a few minutes and let people come into the room because I got a great guest tonight, and he's going to talk about him being an author and writing his first novel. And we're real excited about that because he's one of our very own from Saginaw, Michigan. And he's living out in Holland on the West Coast these days. His name is Tomas de la Cruz. And he is the son of Rachel. And your father's name is Joe?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. Put his mic on. Okay, so just everybody come in the room. I know he comes from a large family, and we got to get everybody to come in. And if you've got a question or concern, feel free to put it in the chat box in the chat room so that we can talk about which was on your mind. As you know, this is a show for mi gente, my people, and it's concerning Latino contributions, concerns, and culture. So come on into the room. You're invited to join Tomas and myself here on Mi Gente on Air.
Yeah, we sure did get hit hard with the snow over here.
Good evening. Welcome to another edition of Mi Gente on Air. And yes, I am your host today, Larry Rodarte. And I'm really happy to be with you here tonight as we enter into December. And it sure came with a vengeance, didn't it? It seemed like we were in the warm month of November, probably one of the warmest Novembers that I can recall. And then all of a sudden, we were in the cold of December, and it came quickly overnight, it seemed like. But I just want to welcome everybody into the room tonight because we've got a special guest who is an aspiring author, and he's going to talk about what has inspired him to write his first novel called Evelyn. And it's pretty awesome to see a young man who hails from Saginaw, Michigan, and that he's doing it because I am also an author. You know, I publish a magazine, We Hint Magazine. That's why I have this show. And I know that it takes a lot to actually produce a book. And it's something that I started way back. And Tomas has started, and he is going to tell us a little bit about that story. But first, I just want to mention that, you know, we're in December, like I say, and in less than 30 days, we're going to be in the year 2025. And I just can't even fathom that because I think my mind's still stuck in the 80s when I was very young. And I think about that movie, Into the Back to the Future, where Michael J. Fox is sitting in the DeLorean and he's going through the time travel. And the machine is actually hitting like 2022, 2023, and we're beyond that now, believe it or not. And that's why I say, you know, to me, 2025 just seems very futuristic, and I can't believe that we're here. But I thank God that we are, those of us that are. And, you know, we're going to talk about tonight here on Mi Gente on Air. A young man who's, like I said, from Saginaw, Michigan. He's now living in Holland, Michigan, and he comes from a very large Latino family in the Saginaw area. They lived out in Bridgeport, and that was the Urives family. And his mother was Rachel Urives. She is now De La Cruz, married to Joe, and they have produced a son named Tomas M. De La Cruz. So, welcome to the show, Tomas. How are you?
Doing pretty good by yourself.
Really good, really good. So tell us a little bit about your background, Tomas. I tried to hit up on that a little bit, but for those in my listening audience that may not know the Uribeses, the Hispanic family from Bridgeport, tell us a little bit more about who you are and where you come from.
So yeah, we living in Bridgeport. We actually lived in on the east side of Saginaw before we went to Bridgeport, over there off of Atwater. And then a little later we went to Bridgeport, and I went to school out there in Bridgeport High School. But just being able to, to live with my grandparents for a while, and just getting their life, their culture, how they were raised. They raised us, not the same, but they made sure that the strict policies were there too. So
The values, and I think that your mother comes from a family of about 14, right?
yes.
Wow, 14. So he comes from a large stock, like I said, and I don't know. That's just the Uribe side. How about your father's side?
So there was 15 on my dad's side.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Holy moly, as they say, especially right now, holy moly, mole, But, anyways, I want to know what has inspired you so young to be a writer, to be an author. And I know that looking back in your bio and all you mentioned that you, from a very young age, you were writing stories. So tell us a little bit about that.
I love to create stuff with my imagination, and to me at a young age, my imagination, it felt real. It felt like um, that I could live in that imagination. And as I got older, I kept it with me, and I used that to create my books and everything. So playing the video games, I was always intrigued on how everything unfolded, and I wanted that. I wanted to have that feeling of watching something unfold and take that turn that I wasn't expecting. So in my books, that's how exactly what I want too. I want the readers to to understand my books, but then not know where it's gonna go, and they'll be in awe of my creativity.
Was there someone in your life that really pushed for you to read books or was it just something that you just found really intriguing in school?
It was just something I found intriguing. I wasn't really a big reader. I wasn't really a big writer either in school, but at home, that was probably when I did most of everything. But just reading books wasn't a passion for me. And now that I'm older and a little bit more wiser than what I was when I was younger, um, I found reading to be more relaxing, and it helped me out.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely a big part of my life as well. And the reason I asked you that question was because from my own experience, my mother was a huge writer, and the reason I want to bring that up is that because mom always said that she wasn't able to travel, like into Europe. She really liked Pearl S. Buck as an author, and she wrote a lot about China and mom always said that she never did get to really travel outside of the United States, but she got to travel in her mind when she would read these books from authors, and I think that's really, really true. And I want the readers to understand and know that when we talk about an aspiring author, somebody who is publishing, like already had your first published book. What is it that moved you to actually write this story? And then tell us a little bit about what Evelyn is actually about.
So what inspired me was completing something for the first time. I always
Yeah.
started something and push it to the side. I'll start something else, push that to the side, and it just I didn't want that. I pushed myself to make something and complete it. And once I completed it, I was happy. I was
Wasn't that a huge relief?
it was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So tell us a little bit about what Evelyn, a synopsis of what Evelyn, the book, is about.
So the story follows the main character Evelyn, and it goes from her rough childhood to when she turned 18, leaving the orphanage, and she has to experience life on her own. Her parents aren't there with her to tell her right from wrong, and she just has to learn everything. She has to take each step, without that guidance. And she finds herself in Las Vegas and comes across a female stranger, and they become best friends. They develop a sistership, and from there she just continues to be blessed in her life. And she starts working for a casino owner, and then she gains power to progress in her successful career. And that's where I left it, so that I could move on to another book, so it'd be the sequel to this book.
Because you're looking to actually make it a series.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to get 4 books out of it. We'll see how far I could stretch my mind into making those 4 books, but I already started on the next one. And
Well, that's really awesome, and I say that because I have struggled. I've been in the process of writing a book for a number of years. I got real involved in the community, and so it's kind of been put on the back burner. So I know that sometimes a writer can have writer's block. Life happens, and so I really want to commend you, Tomas, that you've seen it through. And like I said, it must have been really exciting for you to actually have a published book because it's not easy, and the journey's not easy, I don't think. And I want to just really encourage you to keep going because there are very few Latino authors, I think. Well, at least when I was starting out back then, but today, who knows? But it's really a good thing for our community, just like this show, I think, because like mentioned, we're talking about Latino culture contributions, and you're definitely contributing as an author. It may not be a Latino story in itself, but it comes from a Latino mind, and I think that
mm,
will also, definitely make a difference. So I wanted to see if my producer is able to put up the front cover of the book, Evelyn, because you can also purchase it. Tell my listeners where you can actually purchase this book.
you can go onto Amazon and look up the name Evelyn, or you can type in my name, Tomas M. De La Cruz, and the book will come up right then and there. Or you can get it on, if you have Apple, you can get it on the iTunes store. If you have Android, you can get it on the Google Play. And then I have a website called readershouse.com, that if you go onto there, you can also find the book there too.
Okay, okay. So there you see the front cover of Evelyn. This is Tomas de la Cruz' first book he published. And Tomas, I'd like you to share as well that journey once you actually had the book completed, and that journey of actually getting it published. Because for any aspiring author out there, they're going to wonder, okay, how did he do this? And that's my mind thinking. I'm thinking, wow, how did he do this?
So, so it was mostly pushing myself to create each each story in each chapter. So um, I I went through life, um, experiencing things, going out with my brother, going out with cousins, going out to Vegas, and just learning, and taking each step in my life, and utilizing each moment that I've seen, and making that into a story, being able to see something, and imagining that I could create it.
Mhm. Now, this is a novel, and is it also completely from your imagination? Is it historical? What type of novel actually is this?
So it's completely from my imagination, and I wanted to create something like this. So I started jotting down, like brainstorming, putting Evelyn into the circle, and then branching out, like what's where can she go if I go this way? Where she can go if I do it this way? Just different. What would I say, like hurdles that she can go through with her life, that will make her experience more, maybe love more, just different things.
And what is it? Because I think most writers will have at times writer block. How do you overcome that if you do experience that?
Honestly, writer's block it's a world on its own. It's one of those things that you don't want to push yourself, because the more that you push, you might not even like the result of it. But jotting stuff down as you're thinking of it and leaving it for later, that can help you too. But like I said, it's just the writer's block. It's true. It's you will feel like you're right in front of a wall and you can't go anywhere, and you just got to get over it.
Yeah, I experienced that myself. Like I said, while I was writing a book, and my book was going to be in regard to my great grandmother's track to the United States, leaving Mexico during the Mexican Revolution and all. And at times when I experienced writer's block, I actually went back to Mexico to sit in the plaza where she experienced and heard the cathedral bells towing in the background to help me to get out of that writer's block. So I mean, yeah, it's really real. And but you know, everybody is different. And did you find that you had to really be disciplined, discipline yourself in, you know, like set a time for writing, or was it just whenever you felt inspired to write, you would sit down and write the book?
It was more whenever I felt inspired. Um, and I took audio clips. There was times where if I was driving, or if I was at work on break time, I would take audio clips and just talk into a mic of what my thoughts are. And then later on, when I felt inspired to write, that's when I listened to the audio recordings and then utilize those into the chapter I was working on. Or if they were for a further chapter, maybe I'll write it further and then come back to it once I get there.
Wow, that's a great idea. I have done that a little bit on my cell phone under the app Record, and it is very helpful. But I should do it more often, and maybe that will inspire me to move forward more. But that's awesome, Tomas. I'm learning from you, you know, because you've gone through it actually and published. And what do you see your next book about? Is it going to continue on as Evelyn, the main character, and where will she travel to next?
So each of my books in this series is going to be based on a different main character. So my next one, the main character, his name is going to be Will Bigsley, but it's going to be in that same concept, right in Vegas, and they're all just going to meet together. It's all going to join into one.
Wow,
So,
wow. You know, well, when we sit here and we look at Tomas de la Cruz and he's published his first book, and who knows, you know, down the road, 20 years from now, it could be, you know, a movie that some screenwriter picks up. And I mean, you know, it's such a beautiful career to be in, as an author in journal or in journalism, or, you know, it's two different, aspects of writing, but it's all kind of like, you know, using the imagination. You use that mind power and to actually bring forth characters and to bring a life, you know, to a reader. I mean, I think that's such a gift. I think it's a beautiful thing. And, you know, that's why I mentioned about my mom saying that she could travel, you know, to China through her books, and she called her books her best friends. Believe I'm the recipient of all those books in my library, in my library room. And so, you know, it's really books and reading is really where the mind can really learn a lot from. And you know, I think that you're definitely doing doing your thing. You know, you're doing your thing because, you know, it's like I said, it's a challenge. It's hard sometimes. It may come easy for some, but to write an actual book and a story and stay with it for the period that it takes in order to get published can be, you know, really a challenge, and it can be really a task. And so, like I said, kudos to you for making that all happen. And how has your family responded to the publishing of Evelyn?
Oh, everyone is excited. My mom was the biggest support for me. She was the one that I sent the rough draft to because she loves to read, and and if I can inspire her and bring a shocking face onto her, then I know that that's a good book, and so when she told me, oh, I love that, mijo, I love that, it's like, okay, well, I know I'm doing pretty good. So yeah, my parents, my brother, yeah, they were all big support. My whole family, all my cousins, my aunts, uncles, they help support me. Whenever I share my links on my Facebook page, I'll see a lot of them sharing the same link too. So,
Well, you could sell a whole box of books just within your immediate family. Yeah, and we laugh about that, but it's probably very true. Well, it's something to see that you're so young and doing this because you can really have a prolific career, for many years in writing, and it's something that I think maybe young people today a lot in school they may think, well, I'd like to write about this, I'd like to write about that, and sometimes there just isn't the role models there to see that it can actually be done. So what would you say to young people today that may have any type of inspiration to write?
if you have that passion, if you have that heart to write, do it. It's you're not gonna. I don't want to say you're not gonna write anything wrong, but it's coming from your mind. Everyone loves reading something from everyone's mind. Like if they can't see it, but they can see it through someone else's writing, you'll inspire that person. So just think of all the inspiration that you can develop within other people. You might not see it right away, but it'll happen, and everyone will be proud of you. Whether you do a short story, long story, series, just doing something and completing it. That right there should um, complete your heart.
Hmm. Do you find that life experiences that you have had personally has motivated and been part of Evelyn the book, or is it completely something that you're making up upstairs?
I say a little half and half. I took a little bit of what I experienced, and then I just used my imagination. If I can see it in my mind, then I can jot it down. But if I can't see it in my mind, I'm not going to use it because I want it to be more realistic than a fantasy thing going on.
Okay, okay. Have you ever read the book on writing by Stephen King?
No.
I would strongly advise you to do that because it really helped me and move me forward to go in with the process. It's by Stephen King, the great author,
Mm,
and he wrote a book called On Writing, and the book is pretty phenomenal for anybody who's considering a career in writing books and being an author. And it really set the path for me, I think, because I didn't expect some of the things that he said. And he one of the things that he said, was that everything that everybody or any professor told you, say in college, in regards to writing, just throw it out the window.
mm. Wow.
But the thing was is that he said every book, every novel, there has to be conflict, and I always remember that. And I don't know if anybody in the general public recognizes that or knows that, but every story, every book has to have some type of conflict
Mm.
in either overcoming that conflict or maybe not. What would you say in regard to writing? How is your thought process about writing a book?
I like conflict. I like resolving conflict, how it can be resolved, how conflict can become. Within Evelyn, the readers will be introduced to a lot of her conflicts, a lot of the way that she resolved it. But then, being unexperienced into the world, she doesn't know anything, so she'll go right into the fire rather than walking around it. So.
And what made what made you have Evelyn as the name of the main character and of your book?
You know, I started writing the second book, but then I wanted to have something before that one, so I pushed that one aside, like I did with the rest of my stuff. But then I started doing the Evelyn, and I wanted her to become more prominent into that book. So I just kept on getting her on there.
Okay, okay. Well, we're going to go into commercial real quick, and we're going to talk more with Tomas de la Cruz. He is the author of the book Evelyn. You can buy it now on different platforms, different Amazon and Apple, I think. And we're going to talk more about what it took to bring forth this Evelyn novel to the stores and to the community. So we'll be right back here on Mi Gente on Air. So we're here on the social media platforms, Tomas, and you can see that there's a lot of comments that we're getting. And so I just kind of wanted to read a few rather than read them on the show. I want to read them here on the Facebook platform. So I got to put on my bifocals here. Of course, Gloria Yorribes Flores. Yeah, she says, very proud of you, mijo. And Mary Teddy Urives. There's all kinds of Uriveses, I see. Hi, nephew. William H. Flores Sr. Hey, cousin. Proud of you for doing your thing. And Antonio Villarreal. Hola, primo. So they're all letting you know they're here. They're standing behind you. De la Cruz strong, Antonio says. And Mando Urives. Wow, this is amazing. Esmeralda Melly Rodriguez. She's in the room and she's from Grand Rapids. She's calling Stacy Stout out to probably tap into the show.
Mm.
And Mando Uribe says, I'd like to see the series as a movie. And Gloria Uribe Flores, your tia again says, very good book. Adrian Bibzak, congratulations. It's inspiring to make those moves. So, yeah, you got a lot of family and a lot of support, and I can just imagine, like you said, they've been very supportive, and that's a wonderful thing. That's what we need to do: support our youth, support anybody that's really aspiring to do or put forth their dreams, to put their best foot forward and contribute the way that this young man is. So I just want to continue to invite people into the room. And if you got a comment or a question or a concern, please do, as Mi Gente on Air is, again, your show. So Raza and non-Raza, come on in, and we're going to talk more with Tomas de la Cruz, author of Evelyn.
You're listening to Mi Gente on Air on WSGW.
Welcome back to Mi Gente on Air, and I want to just thank the listeners out there in the WSGW listening world on 100.5 and 790 AM, 100.5 FM. And today we have an aspiring author. His name is Tomas de la Cruz, a Saginaw native who's now living on the west coast of Michigan in Holland, and he wrote a book. It's called Evelyn, and you can purchase it. And he's telling us a little bit about what inspired him to write this book, and the family support that he has, obviously, in the chat room on the live stream. There's a lot, and I just want to ask him some questions that kind of ties in to the family, because family is a big part of most Latino families. And I just want to say that Tomas and his mother Rachel de la Cruz came into the Union Civica this last week to give me one of the books. He wanted to give me one of the books and sign it on Evelyn. And it just, when I picked it up, Tomas, and after making the petitos, and I went home and I picked it up and just started reading the preface, and I was like, wow, man, this is it was exciting. It was exciting for me. And I didn't really know that I remember you as a kid more making tamales with your mom and dad, because the De La Cruz family makes tamales every tamale season, and they're out there getting them to the people. And one of the things that I could obviously see, and for those many of you who know Rachel De La Cruz, you could just see it in her eyes how proud she was of you. And I gotta kind of stop here because it's making me teary eyed, believe it, because Rachel's a friend of mine, and for years she has worked at Next Year and has purchased dinners and supported the Civic many of our functions, as well as I knew her mother. And so it's so heartwarming to see all this and this happening, even from my end. And I wondered what did your father have to say about all this?
Oh, he was more than elated about me making a book. He was proud of me. He didn't know that I had that inside of me to start a book and complete it. And he's not much of a reader, but of course, he holds on to it dearly. And he's, like I say, he's just proud of me. He wants me to continue it, pursue it, and go far. So.
Yeah, I hear he's a great cook nowadays. That's what we were talking about as well. Well, Melissa Jones is in the room.
All right.
Melissa Jones, her name was Melissa Estrada. We all know her. She's also on the East Coast.
Mm.
A lot of young people are moving to the East Coast, and they still come back, for the holidays and all. And Melissa Jones says, "Congratulations to my former BHS classmate Tomas on your new book." So isn't that nice? Somebody that you went to school with at Bridgeport is also on the show here,
Mm.
listening in to your story. So what would you want anybody who reads Evelyn to take away from the book? What would you say as the author? What would you want people to take away from the book?
More as to be inspired by the story that I created. Just sitting down and going on the same adventure that I took in creating it. Just getting lost into a book. That's pretty much what all readers want, is to get lost in a book and feel like they're there. And that's what I want for every reader that picks up my book, to feel like they're inside of that book.
Yeah. I remember a particular book. I think it was called The Proud Breed. And I remember reading it. It was recommended by my mom. It's an older book. I read it. And somewhere in that book, I came away crying, and I was like, "Wow, this is a novel." How could this make me cry? But she's such a good author. The way she meshed words and feelings and
Mhm.
the moment, and I think that's what truly a good book does. And it's very moving. If some people will say, "Oh, no, I'm not going to read a book or whatever," but man, it can take you to a whole nother world and a whole
Yeah.
nother realm. And I'm very much supportive of what you're doing.
Thank you.
When you asked, like, how can we get some advertisement or any type of publicity for Evelyn, I just jumped right on it because I knew that there's not too many. Like I said, there's not too many Hispanic authors. And we need more. We need
Mm.
more of them out there in the world to tell it from the lens of a Latino. And it's what's a wonderful thing. So, what Tomas would you think that your grandma would have said? Because I knew her personally, and I knew her from the senior center, and many of us knew. I knew her as Mrs. Urives. So, tell us what her actual name was, and what do you think she would have said?
So my grandma Guadalupe Urives, uh, I she would be proud of me. She would be the same way like my dad. She will hold the book right next to her chest and just hold on to it every second of the day. And you know, I don't know if my grandma was ever a big reader or not, but if she did, and she picked it up, I would hopefully that she went on that same adventure that I was just talking about. Just getting lost into that book. So.
I think that when we look back at our grandparents, our great grandparents, our ancestors, who may not have had the opportunity to actually read books. And as we know, many of them were working in the fields. They worked very hard, and they immigrated or migrated, obviously, because that's why we're here in the state of Michigan. They probably were inspired in their own minds, in their own ways. And like I have said, I'm very thankful for my great grandparents for leaving and coming to the United States because they afforded me this life. And I think you're the product of your grandparents doing the same thing. You're that American dream,
Mm.
and you're living it. You're doing it, and we are part of the great fabric of this quilt called the United States of America. And it's wonderful to see a young man doing this type of career. And is there any um, was there, or should I say, was there any formal education in terms of writing or journalism, or any advice you would give to somebody who wants to be a writer?
So so back in high school, I was one of those kids that didn't listen at all. I put my head down, I'd fall asleep and wake up, and oh, class is done. Okay, I'm leaving. So English class, I failed. So graduating, I had to pick everything out. I had to relearn everything on my own without any teachers there. Vocabulary, punctuation, grammar, all that stuff. I had to learn on my own. So uh, coming to Evelyn, I didn't know nothing about that stuff. Pronouns, adverbs, none of that. So picking everything up, uh, just reteaching myself. That was the hardest thing before I even touched any of the stories. So
Yeah, and it's so important, for those of you who may still be in high school, to buckle down with your English classes. I was the same way, but prepositions and hearing how shit the teacher would explain it, and then you'd have to read it because you didn't get it. But it's so funny because you would use that in this field.
mm,
I know I did, writing stories in Mi Gente, and thank God I had a great copy editor, Rosa y Morales, and I give her a lot of credit because she was a stickler in terms of great journalism, and I think that was one of the things that we really strive for in Mi Gente. We just didn't put anything together and just publish it. We really strive to be put our best foot forward and make sure that the grammar part of our stories was very good. And I think it stands on its own, and I back it wholly. And so, like, I think that you actually taking the time to learn and make sure that you go forward with a good solid base
mm.
of English was really important. And I wonder if is that something that you see yourself doing even more so as you continue on, or is it going to be just using completely your imagination, and then letting your copy editor do the work?
So yeah, I plan on just doing my imagination and everything that I'm learning. Whenever the editor will send something back, I'll learn from that. So when I am doing my rough draft, I'm writing it and I'll look back. Well, that was wrong last time. Let me change it this time. You know, um, yeah, it's her job to do all that, but I rather learn from all that than having to redo everything and then not making it sound good and having to go back rewrite something to make it sound you know that like that explosive or give it that good story feeling.
Yeah, isn't that something, that
Mm,
feeling when you come up with a concept where your character goes through uh, and experiences something, and maybe you pull from your own life experiences or some story that you heard along the way, and it may not be telling that story as you heard it, but you're grabbing parts and bits and pieces, and then when at the end you come together and you say, "Wow, that's really cool." Isn't that a great feeling?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have a number of people in the chat room here on the live stream, and I just wanted to read some of the comments we did in the Streamyard, and they're on here again. Stacy Nerio, she says next John Grisham, and she's got a big heart signed and there. Gloria Rivas Flores, your tia, she says, I'll be making you some tortillas, mijo, to give you energy to keep writing.
All right.
All right, Gloria. And Stacy Nerio also says, our matriarch, one amazing lady, Guadalupe Perez Uribe. And that was the late Guadalupe Uribe. And we also have Stacy Nerio saying, Deep Benya, you're next. So you're inspiring somebody else. Is that somebody else in your family?
I don't think so.
Well, that's the purpose. I hope that by featuring your book, Evelyn, and you as the author on this show,
Mm,
that it inspires somebody else, somebody out there in the community that may not even know that they have writing skills or that they can put forth their words to become a novel.
mm.
Myself, I'm writing a historical fiction novel, and that's my genre. And I've always loved to read about the Civil War and that time period. What has been your time period of reading, or are you just all over the place?
I'm all over the place. I like to read fantasies. I like to read suspense dramas. Um, maybe the Hobbit was also a good one for when I was in middle school. I did touch on that one a little bit. So it just all over the place.
Yeah, yeah. And when you think back, I know, like, let me give you an example. When I was in, I think I was in the first or second grade. The teacher over at Thomas White Elementary in Bridgeport,
Mm.
she read us. You would sit kids down, and you're in the process of learning to read yourself. And the teacher would sit down and read a book. And I remember one called "The Wicked Pigeon Ladies in the Garden." how I
Wow.
how I remember that title, right? But was there any particular book that you remember that inspired you that young? Because I know in your bio you said something about that you would come up with short stories, and
Mm.
you were writing very young. So tell us about that.
So there's not really a book that inspired me. It was more, like I said, the video games that I would watch the stories just unfold, and that's what inspired me is how everything was created.
Wow, wow. And is there anybody else in the big clan, whether on your father's side or your mother's side, that is also looking to be a writer? Or is this something solely that you've been able to do?
I I don't know. Honestly, I know a couple people have reached out to me with stories that they have made, but I haven't really talked to too many of the family members about becoming a published author, maybe even wanting to create more than one book. So
And when you look at selling the book, is that you mentioned some of the platforms that it's on, and I definitely want to give you that space again here to let people know, because along with his bio and his picture in the book, you also send me, what was that, the little square, I forget what
uh,
that's called at the moment.
that little QR code.
Yeah, the QR code, because I want, if you could, no, but I want you to put the front of the book again on the show, because you can get that book and you can support this young author.
Mm.
This is his book called Evelyn, and Tomas de la Cruz, and the QR code you can actually easily nowadays you can actually buy right from that if you scan that on your phone. So the QR code, look for it and on some of the posts that he may have. And is social media the way that you're promoting that and getting the word out about the book?
As of right now, yes, that's pretty much the only way I'm doing it. So when I um, when me and my mom were talking, and we said, "Why don't we reach out to Larry, see if maybe we could put an advertisement into the Mi Gente?" So I was like, "Oh, that's a good idea." So
Yeah, yeah, and they'll be coming out in this month's issue of Mi Gente magazine, and people can get that QR code from there while you're sitting at Maria's restaurant. You can purchase a book, or you can get it at Maria Lena's, and it's so important that we as a community that we support this young man in this endeavor. When have you actually heard before anyone who's written an actual book and published it? I know there are some. Um, and I would love to give the platform to anybody that aspires to do that. And Tomas, he hit me up, and I was thrilled. I was really thrilled. And I think in my post I said I'm really excited, because I was really excited at the idea that somebody published a book from our area, from our little town of Bridgeport. And I say that jokingly, but it's so true, because Bridgeport, um, I remember, I think that your grandparents lived on Gable, was it?
yes,
Wow, good memory, because I went to school with Tomas's uncle, Hino Yorribes, who was named after his father, right? Nino
yes,
was named after his father,
yeah.
and I remember at one point in time when we were very young, and we were, going up and down that Gable Road. It's a long road out in what to me is kind of like the country part of Bridgeport, um, and just to see the Uribe family, and there were so many, and it's just how would you ever um, think of a novel where it was inclusive of those stories that you may have experienced with such large families, from the Uribeses to your father's family?
What do you mean by that?
Well, what I mean is that, there surely has got to be a lot of tales that you've been told through the years about your aunts and uncles on either side, the De La Cruzes or the Uribes. Do you think that there's something, a novel that you could, utilize some of those stories with?
Oh, I'm sure there are plenty of stories that I was told when I was younger. Maybe some of them my uncles told me to just to scare me away from what they were talking about, or whatever. And I could see myself utilizing them into future novels, or even maybe doing like a comedy book or something.
Comedy book, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because, when I was talking with you and your mom, the other day at the Civica, we were talking kind of about the stories and some of the things in our families, and from that conversation, I learned that your mom doesn't like beans. Well, I actually knew that because every time she would order a patito dinner, she didn't want beans, she wanted double rice. But, we were talking about, just how the families, and I said, Rachel, I'm going to utilize from your family some names, and for characters, because sometimes my book is set way back in Mexico, and at the time of the Mexican Revolution, and so some of my characters have really, um, some of the Mexican names like Eulalia and
Mm.
Hortensia, and we call her Tencha, one of the characters. I mean, so that it's about life, what you've experienced in life, and I'm sure that your characters do the same. Coming from your imagination, sometimes you may not even know that one of the things that Evelyn has done is something that maybe you heard from a family story or whatever. What do you think?
No, not really. Everything that Evelyn experienced was right from my imagination, and I just kept on thinking and thinking and creating things, and that was just her life journey. But this next one, I'm gonna start pulling from my life, because it follows a man, and I want to utilize some of those experiences, because you know. Just doing it based off a woman's life, since I'm a man, it's kind of hard to.
I wondered. I mean, I was thinking, wow, that that can be. You have to pull from the women that right? And
Right.
speaking of that, like I said, we've got a few more comments. And there's quite a few comments actually tonight, and for my listening audience there on the radio land, we're doing the live stream here on Tuesday nights, and then the actual show is broadcast at 8 p.m. on Sunday. And Rachel De La Cruz, who is Tomas's mother, she says, "Thank you, Larry, for giving my son Tomas this opportunity to talk and promote his book. I read Evelyn, and it is very good. It has a lot of action and suspense. If anyone wants to purchase it, I do have some to sell, or you can get them online or from Tomas. And, Tomas, Carlos Guzman is on here as well. And he says,
Yes.
when is your Barnes and Noble book signing?
You know, when I first published, they wanted to do one, but I had to purchase the books myself, and it was going to be about a $2,000 note that I had to come up with. And I was like, I don't have that kind of money to purchase all those books, so I wasn't going to do a book signing. But this next one, I really want to do one. I want to get that experience into doing a signing. So.
Okay. Well, I think that, some of the publicity that you'll be getting in the December issue of Mi Gente magazine can help you. And I am glad that we have this ability to have this platform to bring you to the table as well on Mi Gente on Air. And your tia, your aunt, Gloria Uribe Flores, she says, don't tell my secrets or no tortillas. That's a threat, Gloria.
Yeah.
Well, Tomas, it's been a real pleasure to be with you here, and you're living in Holland now, correct?
Yes.
And what made you go to Holland? Was it for job opportunity, or you what has you in the west coast of the state?
So originally, me and my brother came out here to Holland, and we wanted the jobs because there wasn't really nothing booming in Saginaw like it was on the West Coast. So once we got here, we saw job signs all over the place. We're hiring, we're hiring, we're hiring. So we just felt like it was a better opportunity for us.
Yeah, well, I got to go to the West Coast this summer, and I was in South Haven, Jennison, Holland, and man, there's some beautiful beaches over there. Just absolutely beautiful beaches. So thank you again for being with us here tonight, Tomas de la Cruz. He's the author, a published author. His book is called Evelyn, and you can purchase it at different. Tell the listeners where you can purchase it one more time.
On Amazon, Google Play, iTunes, readershouse.com, and Barnes and Nobles.
Barnes and Nobles. Okay, well, thank you so much again, and thank you to many in the Urives family and those friends of Tomas that are in the room tonight. And let's just keep going forward, adelante, because we're in 2025 next month. Believe it or not, and I know for like myself and for Rachel, we're like, what happened? We were just in the 80s, the best time. So thank you everybody for tuning in again. Thank you to Tomas de la Cruz, and we'll see you next week here on Mi Gente on Air. All right, Tomas, we're in the live stream now again. Any last words to the listeners about your book, Evelyn?
Just I wanna put one more inspirational quote out there for those that want to write. Don't give up. You're gonna struggle, but those struggles make you a better person. So don't let anything beat you up. You got to go through them.
Yeah, si se puede. And that's what Gloria's saying on here, si se puede. And good job from Miguel Guzman Jr. You've got people from Lansing in here as well. So there's quite a number of people, and I'm glad they're tuning in to Mi Gente on Air. And hopefully they'll continue to do so, because I forgot to mention earlier in the program that this is the beginning of our 4th year. Fifth year of Mi Gente on Air. I had to think about that, but actually we started in 2020. And so I can't believe it's been this long. Matthew Lester, you haven't even been here that long. What do you have to think or say about the show?
I mean, hey, I think it's good.
What do you think about Tomas de la Cruz here writing a book at such a young age?
I mean, hey, my grandfather was an author. He wrote a couple books himself. I think it's great.
Wow, that's cool. That's really cool. Well, I'm just really appreciative that WSGW has given me this platform. When they asked if I would do a show, in regard to the Hispanic community, I think that my first intuition was like, no, I'm just too busy already as it is. But I knew we had to be at the table, and we had to bring our stories to the community as well. So here we are. Like I said in the beginning of the show, we're talking about Latino contributions, cultures, and concerns. And the contribution today, of course, was this author here, Tomas de la Cruz, writing a book called Evelyn. And I hope, and I want to encourage everybody to go out and buy it. We are in the Christmas season, and if you know anybody that likes to read, have them read a book from Saganaw's very own Tomas de la Cruz. So, anything else, Tomas?
Just want to thank you for having me on here. This is awesome. This is actually my first interview that I've ever had. So,
Oh wow, great! That's neat to know. I can say I knew you win. I knew you win. But anyways, everybody, thank you so much, and I want to wish everybody a happy holiday season. We'll be back next week. I'm going to try to make it every week on the show as we go into the December, this cold December. And I just want to mention real quick that on December 22nd, the 14th annual Tamale Taste Off is happening at the Unión Cívica Mexicana from 11 to 3 p.m. And we've got a number of different tamale makers that will be in the house, as well as merchandise vendors. And that's at 2715 Wadsworth. And it's just a really nice time right before Christmas. We always do it the Sunday before Christmas if you want to buy your last minute gifts or you want to buy your last minute tamales for under the Christmas tree. So please come on out, support Saganaw's oldest civic organizations. In 2025, we're celebrating 80 years in the the community. So thank you so much, everybody, and we'll see you next week here on Mi Gente on Air. Adios.